Asbel, your plant-based chef, and I'm here today to tell you about the easiest possible way to get your sushi fix without buying any equipment or learning any special skills. That's right, I've been teaching how to make sushi for over 20 years in cooking schools, and I want to tell you that some people think it's going to be hard. It's not as hard as you think. But you don't have to buy a special mat or anything like that. I've got rice cookers, mats, I've got all the tools, but I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful little hand rolls. They are easy to make by hand, and you don't need any kind of special tools, just a little pot to cook some rice in and a cutting board to cut some veggies up on, and there you have it. And I made a version that's got a mixture of white rice and quinoa, because that's kind of how I roll. As much as I love the white rice of sushi, I like a little extra whole grain goodness thrown in. And then I also made a version that is made with black rice, which is gorgeous and beautiful and tasty, and again, a whole grain. I put pickled ginger, tofu, cucumber, avocado, and radish sprouts. And you can put in anything you want in your hand roll. In fact, you can serve this as a flexible meal with your kids or with your friends, where everybody just makes their own and puts them in themselves, whatever they want. So stick with me, and this is going to be so yummy, because as you know, when you come to my house, it's all about the flavor, baby. So here I am, ready to show you how to make sushi hand rolls. Something so easy, anyone can do it. So before anything else, we want to make sure we buy the right rice. Now I've got some sushi rice here. It's a medium grain japonica rice, and that just means that this rice has more of a starch called amylopectin in proportion to the other starch that is the amylose. So in this medium grain sticky rice, it will be sticky, whereas in the sushi rice you want that stickiness, whereas a similar kind of rice is arborio, which has a similar background. Actually, it's descended from japonica rice. There, that same starch is used to make a creamy risotto. So we've got our beautiful japonica rice, and I am going to mix it with some quinoa because, you know, I'm whole grain. That's kind of how I roll. And I'm also going to cook some medium grain black rice for an alternative as well, which is a similarly got a nice stickiness. Oops. So to get my rice started, I'm going to wash it. Now this is a ritualized thing in which we do this process of adding water, and then we swirl the rice and swirl it and swirl it and swirl it. And as you can see, the water is turning white. And you really give that a good little rub in between here. And so you wash the rice, the water turns white, and then you pour it off. Now I usually do this over a sink. And then just keep adding clean water and washing. And you want to do that at least 3 times, because odd numbers are more lucky. And you just want to make sure you get all that off. Now, the reason it's turning white, there's an old myth that there was something thrown in there like chalk or something, but it's just that the grains of rice bump into each other in the bag and the starches kind of break off. So it just sort of gets rubbed off. And so you just want to wash that off so that you don't have starchy, gummy rice after you cook it. So you want it to be sticky, but not gummy, as it were. So I'm going to put this in here and do a third little rinse. I got that one little grain of black rice in there. I'm going to get it out. A grain of rice. And so I swirl and swirl and swirl and swirl. And you see the water's coming away, much less cloudy. And that is what we want. So then I rinse that. And that is washing the rice. And I'm going to put it in a pot. Now I have rice cookers. I have several. But I'm showing you today how to make all this without any special appliances. So I'm putting in the quinoa and a little over 1 1/4 cups of water. And I'm just going to put that on the stove and bring it to a boil. And then I will reduce the heat to low and cook it for about 14 minutes. Now on the black rice, I've already got the water ready. Pick that one little baby out of there. So I've got my black rice, and I'm just going to rinse that by pouring some water over it. It's not starchy. It's not dirty. There's also, back in the day, when you bought brown rice or quinoa or any of the whole grains, you were supposed to wash them. And they were quite dirty oftentimes, beans and grains both. But in contemporary practice, they are really quite clean, and so you don't have to waste your time doing that. So I'm going to put this on the stove, and when these are done, we'll come back and I'll show you how to season the rice. So we're back, and my rice is now cooked. So I'm going to show you what we do with the rice. This is the rice, the sushi rice with quinoa, and I'm just going to stir this up a little. So you can see it's still quite hot, and I just want to sort of fluff and fold. We're trying not to mash the rice. Now, when I'm doing this in a serious sushi class, I put it in a special cypress wood bowl called a hangiri. But this is all about you doing this with whatever you have on hand. So here we have just a plate, just a big old plate. And now while the rice is cooling a little bit, I have some organic sugar and vinegar, and I'm going to mix the two. So this is 1 tablespoon of vinegar and 1 teaspoon of sugar. And that is my balance that I use for 1 cup of grain that went into this, right? So we had the 3/4 of a cup of white rice, and we had a 1/4 cup of the quinoa. And yes, of course I'm stirring it with my finger. Wouldn't you? The thing to do is you're going to be getting your fingers in there anyway. So I'm going to just gently fold that in. Again, we don't need to be mashing or breaking any of our lovely grain. And that is our beautiful sushi and quinoa blend. And the next step is I'm going to put a towel, which I have dampened with cold water, and I've squeezed it out, and the cold water will allow this to dry, or rather to cool without drying out. So by dampening this towel, we're just going to keep this rice nice and soft and moist. So my second rice is my beautiful black rice. And you can see it has cooked, and there's the little holes in the top that we get when our grain is cooked. This took about 25 minutes. It's beautiful, and it will turn everything that it touches kind of a purple color. So I'm going to put a less white towel on this one. Here, I'll put this little white kitchen towel on this one, and we're going to, first I'll put in the rice vinegar and sugar mixture, which I had already stirred up in advance. Now, I use what's called unseasoned rice vinegar, and you want to make sure that's what you buy, because seasoned rice vinegar already has the sugar and some salt mixed in. And I just want to have the plain rice vinegar so I can add sugar and salt if I want. In this case, sushi rice, I don't add any salt. So I'll go ahead and cover this with a towel, a wet kitchen towel. And so I will then move on to getting ready for my filling and wrapping and rolling. So I've got lots and lots of towels. This is a very towel heavy procedure. And before we get our rice cooled off, I will have my fillings ready. So I have some lovely little baby lettuces that I picked out. They're going to look lovely in this. I also have some micro greens. These are micro radish greens. I have a cucumber, and I'm just going to, I took the seeds out, and then I'm just carefully slivering, very thin slivers of cucumber. And I'll show you a fun way to put all this into your roll. So then I've got some scallions, and I'm going to just cut this in half roughly and cut some of these pieces. Now, if you're feeling like having a fun time with garnishing, you can always do the scallion fan, right, and put this little fan hanging out the end of your roll. So that would be about how long you'd want that to be. And you just take the tip of your knife and cut this into a little fan. See how it spreads out? And you can put that in water if you want it to spread out more. We'll just get a couple of those just for fun. Then I've got my tofu. So I put this tofu, wrapped it in a towel, and I put a heavy pot on top. And that's all I'm going to do with the tofu. It's pressed, and it's a nice firm tofu. So sometimes when I'm doing this, I will put some tamari on the tofu and put it on an oiled pan and roast it. And you can certainly do that. But like I say, today we're doing something very easy, very accessible, something you can do without any special tools and without any particular need for extra work, right? This one is your easy little sushi roll. Then I'm going to get this smaller avocado. And yes, I just love avocado. And this one's a little soft, so I'm going to make sure it's okay. Oh, feels pretty soft. Let's see how that looks when we open it up. Looks good. It's just a little soft. I'm going to pop out the seed. Trim away a little bit. of stuff and just do again my slicing in the shell as we do for sandwiches, burritos, all that stuff. So we've got one of those guys ready. So I'm going to show you the sushi nori. Now this is sushi nori. This is a sheet of seaweed which has been, actually it's made like paper. So it's not a piece of seaweed down under the sea that grows rectangular leaves. It's really more of a big leafy kind of seaweed, and it doesn't just float around in the sea like this. So every sushi nori has a shiny side and a less shiny side. It's also a rectangle, not a square. So for our hand rolls, I'm going to cut this across the rectangle into 2 easy pieces. And I'll start with just the one. So I'm going to take my still kind of warm rice. Oh, it's cooling down. So when you are working with your rice and with your nori, you've got to have water and a towel for your hands. And you want to make sure that you actually take this water, and I put a shot of plain rice vinegar in there. So here's how we assemble this, and again, it's so easy. You can do this any way you want. I mean, if you just want to slap some rice on there and fold it in half, call it good, that is completely up to you. But I'm going to show you how to make a little hand roll. So I wet my fingers, and I grab just a little bit of rice, just really like a couple tablespoons. And then I'm looking at this as if it's divided in half. And so I put my little bit of rice on there. And then on top of the rice, I'm going to put some pink pickled ginger, because I just love pink pickled ginger all the time, every which way. Now if you want, if you're one of these wasabi lovers, you can put a little dab of wasabi on here. But again, this is completely improvisational, up to you. So then I'm going to put a piece of tofu. Now notice I'm laying this out this way. It's all pointing toward this point, and you'll see why. And I'm going to put in a little leaf and a little bit of one of my scallions. I'm going to put in one of my scallions here. And then I'm going to put in a bit of avocado. And I'm making the cardinal mistake, which is it's very easy to put in too much and then have the whole thing rip apart on you. So you don't want to do an overload. Oh, still got to put in a sprout, just a little sprout. I want to make sure you get a nice one. Here we go, a little radish sprout. Going to hang out the end. So then I dry my fingers, and then we start the rolling. And you want to pivot this as you roll it into a cone. So see how I'm just using my fingers to guide this, but again, I'm keeping that point in the middle as the point of the cone. So after we get this rolled this far, you take one little grain of rice and smash it on there and get that a little bit wet. And then you take this on around, and this is a hand roll. Oh, make sure that's good and sealed. And here we have a beautiful hand roll. You can hold this up, show this to your friends and family, and it's super easy. I'm going to put this in my special little hand roll holder. Is that cute? Got this over at my favorite Japanese grocery store. So I'll show you another one. Here is my little piece of nori, half a sheet. Here is the half. So here is my little sheet of nori, and here's the halfway point again. Got our little point down there. I'm going to put down a little bit of pickled ginger. Just season that with that. Again, you can do the wasabi if you'd like. I know some people like wasabi in massive doses. Some people don't want any wasabi. Up to you. I'll lay one of these pretty red leaf lettuces right on there. Again, there's the point. Put in a piece of tofu and a little bit of avocado, and I'm going to put a radish sprout on there. You just want a nice long one. And still got to put in a scallion. So here we go. Again, we're going to pivot, pivot, pivot. Just keep it rolling, but keep that point. Dampen that. Take it on over. Hold it closed. And here we have another beautiful hand roll. And if you want to, you can always stick a little something in there if you want another piece of beautiful radish sticking out. I'll put that in my stand. And so here's my beautiful sushi. Now I'm going to go ahead and do one with the black rice as well. So when you're not working with your rice, you just cover it back up. We'll do some black rice rolls. Black rice is actually considered a Chinese medium grain rice, and it is sometimes called forbidden rice, which is actually a brand name. It is a registered trademark for a certain variety of medium grain black rice, and it is a wonderful, lovely rice. Oh, I forgot to put cucumber in those. Here goes some cucumber, tofu. Now the fun thing about this, and what I'd like to advise you to try, is just doing this at the table. You can do it for your friends, or you can all just make your own rolls as you go along. It's totally a fun and flexible way to have a fun dinner of sushi and save a bunch of money, because as you know, sushi is not inexpensive. So here we go. We're going to do our pivot, pivot, pivot. And it just keeps rolling to make a beautiful cone. And then dab and smash that little bit of black rice on there. Smash. And then pull this together and pull it up. And there is our cone. And again, I'll garnish it with a little bit of radish sprout again. Just drop a couple of those in there. And here you have your super easy, delicious black rice hand roll with all kinds of fun fillings. You can customize this to your taste. More wasabi, less wasabi, no wasabi, pickled ginger, tofu, whatever you want to do. So I hope that this is going to be the one that's going to work for you, that you can finally make sushi at home with just a pot and a couple cutting boards and your bare hands, because you don't need to go and buy a bunch of equipment or learn how to be a real sushi chef. You can just make this beautiful home style hand roll. And it's so fun and so tasty, because you know, when you come to my house, it's all about the flavor, baby.